So we just got back from Nevada, spending 4 days with Harley Davidson, riding the brand new 2024 CVO St models, including the brand new Harley Davidson Road Glide and Street Glide models. If you guys are on the verge and want to purchase a brand new 2024 model, you definitely are going to want to watch this video. It is packed. I mean packed full of awesome information and answers to a lot of the questions that I have been getting over the past couple weeks. We sat through an hour-long presentation given by the engineers and the design team from Harley Davidson. So I'm sure if you sit through this entire video, pretty much a lot or the majority of your questions are going to be answered. And also in the next couple days, I'm editing them now. We have an amazing ride video on Las Vegas Motor Speedway where all of us actually rode the brand new CVO St models on the racetrack there. And then the next day we actually rode the new Road Glide and Street Glide models on a beautiful ride to the Valley of Fire State Park. And in that video, I give you guys my full impressions on that model. It's absolutely amazing. So I don't want to waste any more of your time, guys. Definitely watch the video in its entirety. It is really cool to listen to these engineers talk about how they put these brand new 2024 models together.
Man, we got matching boots.
What are you talking about, man? Boots are the best. Look at that Indy Ridge, baby.
Same boot, just different color. One has more miles.
Except exactly. You see that? Look at his. Brandy new.
That's a heel toe shifter. That's the difference. It makes a roller difference.
We got Marvel Kid right here in the building.
Guys?
Check him out on YouTube.
What's up? Good morning.
What's the channel?
Chase on Two Wheels. Chase on Two Wheels. Yes, sir.
Awesome, awesome. Tell us about your channel, brother. On the spot. Sorry.
Hey, I'm Heckshot Rides. What's up, everybody?
Man.
Here at the Harley event, and very honored to be here.
Awesome.
Honored to see these new bikes. Honored to meet you.
Oh, likewise, man. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm super stoked
You
about.
got great stuff. Make sure you guys check out his content. You also got another channel. You want to plug that too?
I do gun reviews and motorcycles. The two best things in the world.
Two best things in the world. That's right. That's right.
So,
what's the channel name?
Heckshot 87 and Heckshot Rides.
Awesome. Thanks,
Yep.
man.
Yeah, thank you,
Appreciate
brother. Appreciate
it. You guys all know Matt.
How's it going?
Infamous Full Tank Adventures. Check him out. Tell us about your channel, buddy.
Who, me? What channel?
No, the guy behind you.
What channel? I just walked in from the other room because there was a free breakfast.
Come on. Now's your
Riding
time.
in the Ozarks. I talk about Harley Davidsons. I ride 2016 Street Glide. I talk about the rallies and events that I go to in the Midwest, including Sturgis, Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, Bike Fest, and just generally whatever else I feel like. It's my channel.
Awesome, man. Thanks. It's my pleasure meeting you.
You too, John.
Cool, thanks. Oh, Ryan right there.
That little cam.
That's tiny, man. This
Ryan
guy's-
just showed off
he's
his
big
camera.
time.
His camera's bigger than your camera.
Hey.
Don't take it too
So law-abiding bikers here. We got Mr. Matt.
Yo.
Blade Law. I'm sure you guys know him. If you don't, definitely check him out. And if you guys are in California looking for a Harley Davidson, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That's
from
right.
California.
You're starting to get a lot of them in?
Yeah, we got our first shipment in already. We should be getting our second shipment in here real soon. So.
Oh, awesome, man.
Yeah, they look
Awesome.
good.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you,
looking
John.
forward to the ride.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. What's the channel? Tell everybody.
Oh, sorry.
Come on.
Hello, Cycle Fanatics. How y'all doing? This is Tiffany Renee. Make sure you guys come check me out on my channel. I do a lot of traveling, motorcycling. I install parts. Look, surprisingly, I
Oh,
do
there
do
you
those.
go,
I review
there you
those
go.
for you, so come check us out over there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Including Teo Cattell, our VP of Marketing. We've got some speakers here. They'll be presenting as well. Brad Richards was here. There he is. Brad Richards, our VP of Design. Scott Nash, our Chief Engineer. Eric Buckhouse, who's a lead development engineer. Of course, the lovely Jen Hoyer, who's organized this entire event. And Matt Swedlin, who's also representing PR. But one note, Matt just recently got promoted, so he's the new manager of marketing. He's not going far. He's going to be a prime contact for you guys, and we'll be working very closely with Matt in his new role. And PR, of course, will be the prime conduit for you for like product information. So, congrats to Matt.
Is he just going to keep telling us I can't talk about that?
Basically, yeah. Or he's going to point. Oh, and Katie, course. Katie, our director of communications as well. So,
Nice.
Teo, I'll leave it to you just to say hello and welcome. And sure, we'll go from here.
So again, I'm Teo Kittel, and I oversee marketing for the brand. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for being here. I know everybody's super busy, so it's great to see all your faces. I've met a bunch of you guys before, and happy to have you here. I'm not going to spend too much time. Hey, you're going to be next. So.
That's a good one.
It's a really, really important one for us. These motorcycles, it's a big step for the company to make this change. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking. He's mic'd up. But it's we're excited to have you here. Actually get a throw a leg over the bike. I think that's all anybody really wants to hear from me at this point. So it's like I'm not going to try to get in the way of everybody's time on the saddle. So I know the team's got a lot of great stuff for you guys to do this week, and the next couple of days, I should say. Track time on the bikes. Obviously the Wymans are here as well, and James Rispoli, and so we're excited to have those guys take you guys out as well. But yeah, I just have a good time, and so happy that you guys are out here. Throw a leg over the bike. I know a lot of you guys have already pushed out some content already, and how excited you are on the bikes. Some of you may actually get me to trade up my bike into something else. This guy over here. So yeah, I'm kind of afraid to go walk into any dealer right now. Sorry, I'm gonna make a bad decision.
Or it's a good decision.
Or very good decision. And Robert's got plenty of room in his garage, so right now, there's a new bike coming.
It might be a poor financial decision, but it's a good decision.
I mean, hey, everything we do is irrational. Let's be honest, right? Like riding is an irrational thing, but you know what though? It's why we love riding so much. It's the passion, it's the community, it's everything else that we love around it. So happy to have you guys here. Thank you for being a ride safe. And yeah, I'm gonna kick it back to Paul.
So the guys are at the racetrack, and that's where our first opportunity is going to be to ride the CVO ST is on the racetrack at Las Vegas Motor Speedway outdoor road course. It's a very fun track. It's very flat. There's no elevation to it, so its reference points are important. And the guys are going to take you through a series of exercises. We're not doing hot laps. We're not out here to set speed records, but we are here to learn what this bike can do in a closed course situation and learn from the best. So Teo mentioned we've got our factory riders, we've got Kyle Wyman, we've got James Rispoli. We also have Travis Wyman, who will be racing a bagger as well. He'll be racing for the Saddleman team this year. And we have Cody Wyman, who's also going to be racing a Harley Davidson Pan America in the Super Hooligans class, joining his brother Travis in that class. So the best racers here to help you understand these motorcycles. We also have our engineering team, and we've got our styling team. We've got our PR team here to help answer your questions the whole time you're here. So we're going to kick it off a little bit with a preview of the race team, in that we have a YouTube series that we've developed that will be kicking off another series this year that's covering what happened in 2023. So this is a preview of that series, and go ahead, Matt, if you want to go.
When you do this competitively, you have to be focused. People are going to be bumping into each other. They're going to be passing each other close. You have changing conditions. You can't afford mistakes. There's no better feeling than doing this well.
King of the Baggers, it's turned into a really interesting and competitive series.
There's been a massive shift in King of the Baggers. It's essentially turned into all-out war.
An arms race to develop the most sophisticated bagger race bike possible.
They're closing in on superbike top speeds and times. It's insane.
Kyle is the guy we're all going after. He's got the factory seat.
This is your job and you're expected to win. That's a welcoming type of pressure.
You know, Kyle's so good at everything.
We need you to cheer as loud as you can for your favorite contestant.
Don't tell him I said that his helmet won't fit.
You have 6 months to perform, and if you don't perform, you might be left without a seat for next year.
I am the only female that's ever raced a bagger whose teammate is her husband.
I'm a little more calm and collected. She can be a hot tamale.
Being a professional motorcycle racer, the physical demands are high.
The toughest part is if one of us goes down, how do you ignore it?
having two brothers being teammates, I think it's unique. You know, as much as we want to beat one another, we want to see the other one succeed too.
I kind of got away from racing, but I didn't want him growing up thinking that I quit. I want him to see that I put everything I had into it. I'll just be happy if I'm there for the birth. You know, I've got a baby that's about to be born that I have to be here for. That's just gonna make me ride even harder and try and get this championship.
There's never an end. We found that limit.
Kyle Wyman with a big victory.
What's the next limit?
I'll work as much as I gotta work. What are you as a rider gonna do today?
Are they gonna wait? No, they're not gonna wait for him.
All the things that keep you up at night.
He pushes too hard.
That was definitely not on the list.
Racing's crazy, it's unpredictable. You never know what's gonna happen.
When you go into the final race of the season and 3 different riders can win the championship, buckle up.
Like they're thinking, it's my time, so I'm gonna go and take it.
I put everything I can into this. I don't want to look back and have the what ifs.
It's not just one race, it's everything.
Cool. So that's Push the Limit. It's going to be a 6-episode YouTube series. We're super excited about it, but I just get goosebumps just watching it and thinking about it. You guys will be here to help you today understand the CVOSTs. One thing I'm going to ask is that you do not publish images or video of the race bikes or of the racers until February 16th. So February 16th is their team intro. And so we're hoping to kind of keep that a little under wraps until then. You'll see when we get out there why. When you see these bikes, they look a little different than they did last year.
When is the series starting?
The series will start sometime before Daytona. Right before Daytona.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, super excited about it. Okay, so we're ushering in a new performance of Harley Davidson Touring, right? We're talking about performance, technology, and design changes that make these bikes lighter and faster and more comfortable. And that's what we're here to talk about this morning. So I'm going to transition over to Scott Nash to talk about, to Brad Richards, to talk about the design of these motorcycles, the Road Glide, and the Street Glide. Brad, I'm going to hand this to you and where you're calling.
All right, good morning everybody. I'm Brad Richards. I run the design team at the company. This thing, does that work?
It works.
All right. Cool. Talk to you. I've got 3 slides because, to be totally honest, a lot of the I'd say that some of the biggest changes are actually under the skin, even though the skin has changed radically compared to the last 55 years of our Grand American Touring motorcycles. So internally, this was an absolutely massive project for us. So if you think about 1969, Harley Davidson has basically created the formula. The touring chassis is defined. We have a batwing fairing that is produced up at our Tomahawk facility in northern Wisconsin, which allowed us to do things like fiberglass saddlebags and really cool forms that were not steel. So that kind of opened up the toolbox for Willie G and the team at that time. So that's when you have the batwing fairing is created. Like I said, the saddlebag is created. It's put on this chassis, and that really was the formula and sort of the silhouette for our Grand American Touring motorcycles for the last 55 years. So if you look at the 69 fairing, the batwing, it looks a lot like the Rushmore fairing, the fairing that this fairing replaced. So this was a huge deal for us to try to update the motorcycle, keep the connection to the legacy, keep the connection to 120 years of Harley Davidson, but also make sure that the bike is obviously brand new in every view that we could possibly make it new in, so that people would trade up to the new bike. So very simply, there's a couple images here on the slide. If you look at the red lines on those 2 images on the left here of the Road Glide and Street Glide, what we tried to do is we tried to create a little bit more interlocking of the body panels versus the Rushmore era bikes. If you look at a Rushmore era Harley Davidson Grand American Touring motorcycle, there's a bit of a belly on the fuel tank, and that's probably one of the biggest changes the first changes that we made with the new bikes, is we created this flat line in the bottom of the fuel tank, which allowed us to create a series of horizontal lines that tie the motorcycle together. So if you were to park the new bike next to the Rushmore, you would instantly notice that the new bike looks like it's just more contemporary. It looks like there's more tension in it. We raised the saddlebags up so the bike looks lighter on its kickstand and when it's riding. It is physically lighter. Scott will get into that, but visually we wanted the motorcycle to look light as well. Harley Davidson, what this is basically saying is that at Harley Davidson, we really like to celebrate the mechanicalness of our motorcycles. We do not like to cover things up in plastic. So I call it anatomy on display. It's as if, I came from the car industry. I spent 20 years designing trucks for Ford Motor Company. And it's a much easier job in my opinion because you have a skin that basically covers all of the mechanical bits of the automobile up. You're just making a beautiful form. At Harley Davidson, we don't like to cover things up because the V-twin motor itself is such an iconic bit of iconography for us, and it has to be celebrated. So if you look at our motorcycles, you see the engine first. You don't see wiring. You don't see nasty tape and ugly fasteners. We really treat the motorcycle like jewelry. So this idea of taking the skin off means that all the individual parts really need to hang together correctly. So my team works directly with Scott's team in engineering to make sure that the cylinders look a certain way, the fin pack looks a certain way, the pushrod tubes and lifter blocks are beautifully sculpted, the heads. When you're on the motorcycle, you see a little bit of that cylinder head peeking out, and it's beautifully sculpted. The bike needs to constantly kind of deliver itself, the customer needs to constantly discover the new design, the new details around the bike, and that's why we spend so much time sweating the details. Next slide. Fuel tank. So again, if the V-twin engine is our most iconic piece of kit, it's the teardrop fuel tank that people really associate with Harley Davidson. So trying to restyle that tank might seem like a relatively easy thing to do, but there are a lot of people who love that teardrop fuel tank, including myself and my team. So what we did, if you look at the new design, is we kept inside view, other than taking the belly out of the bottom, we kept the same teardrop shape, but we added these chamfers to the side. We did this for a few reasons. We wanted to, it's a 6-gallon fuel tank like the outgoing model. But we wanted to really use those lines to tie into the saddlebag lids. If you look, that same chamfer is actually on the saddlebag lid. It's on other bits of the bike. It'll be on future P&A pieces that can be put on the motorcycle as well. And that really, again, visually ties the fuel tank to the saddlebag to the rest of the bits on the motorcycle. There's also a new flush fuel cap. There's been some pretty cool things that Scott's team was able to do with the fuel tank. It's actually lighter than the outgoing tank. The whole motorcycle is lighter. He'll get into that. But we really, not only do we want to make the bike look visually kind of performance orientated and lighter, but we wanted it to be performance orientated and lighter. And that's what we think we've achieved. And then last up, there's a new wheel on the standard models, the Road Glide, Street Glide here. It's a 5-spoke wheel. It has a bit of it's an edge cut wheel, so meaning that there's a bright machined edge with a painted inner body of the wheel. There's a little bit of if you study the wheel, we tried to create a bit of some movement in the wheel dynamically, and the way we did that is we have a little bit of a black. It looks like there's one spoke, but there's really 2 spokes. It is one casted spoke, but it's one casted wheel. It's not a multi-piece wheel, but it looks like it is. There are 2 parts that came together and then shifted slightly, and that was just to make the wheel look like it's moving as it's sitting still. There's also the traditional 1918 configuration for us, etc., etc. I will be here. I think we'll come back up and talk about the ST in a minute after we go through the standard models here. But if you guys have any questions about the design anytime today, I'll be at the track and be able to answer any questions about that. I'm going to hand it over to Scott Nash now, who is Chief Engineer of the project.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'll have to say, so I am Chief Engineer for Touring, but there is, there's a shout out, there is probably 100 engineers back at the PDC that are super excited as I am, about the ability to finally talk about these products with you, get them out in the market, get you riding them. We've been working on this for over 3 years. So to be able to today kind of talk about it, present it, get it out, get you guys riding it, beyond myself and Eric here's talking about it, it's been a long journey, super excited to have you here. So thanks for being here. Brad talked a little bit about the overall design of the motorcycle. I'm going to go a little bit more into some of the details. I'm going to blast through a bunch of stuff really quickly. As Brad said, I would be here for the rest of the day. I'll be at the track with you. I'll be on the road ride. So if you got other questions, definitely either ask them when we're done here or throughout the week here. Feel free to ask. Couple of themes though you're going to see that kind of carry through from the 23.5 stuff. Performance, comfort, infotainment, and tech, right? That's kind of like we hit on all three of those things when we touch these motorcycles. A lot of the time you only get to touch one of them as an engineer, right? Yeah, we're gonna do something about performance. We're gonna do something about the visuals. We're gonna do something about upgrading the technology, right? This motorcycle hits on all of them. So look for that theme as we talk through all the content today. I'm gonna first start with the powertrain. So when you think about the powertrain, three things on the powertrain, right? So performance, right? Displacement. So from the OE bikes that we had before, Road Glide and Street Glide, you used to be able to get a 103 or a 107 or a 114, 117s. So keep that, and I'll talk about the performance differences with that 117. You're thinking, well, we had a 117. This is different, it's better. Airflow, in particular, on the intake side of the powertrain. So going to be a lot of improvements from airbox all the way to cylinder heads that improve performance on this motorcycle. I'll talk a little bit about that. And then comfort. Comfort for the overall vehicle, which Eric will talk about, but then also comfort from the powertrain and how we're cooling it. So some big things there. All right, next slide. So this is kind of the buildup. Where were we before? What are we getting now? Before, Street Glide, Road Glide had 107 or a 114. You can see here the improvements, right? Just in displacement, power, torque. And then even on the 117, which we had in the lineup before, this has got more improved, better performance than that 117 previously had. We'll talk about where we landed with that. So next slide. So still 4.5-inch stroke, 10.3 compression ratio is up a little bit over what it was before. We can talk about why that happened. But where we landed, 130 foot-pounds of torque, 105 horsepower, which is above what we delivered on the 117 previously. So when you ask, like, well, how did we get there? What do we do about it? Start with the where the air starts from, the intake, the airbox side of things. So in addition to being restyled, we're getting 50% more clean air volume before that gets into the throttle body. So that delivers this. It's also got a new molded velocity stack right into the intake that again improves the delivery of air into the throttle body. And we can take apart and look at some of these things later this week. And then when you get into the throttle body, so on the right here was old, on the left here is new. You can just looking at those images, you can see we've simplified it. And air likes simple. Air doesn't like to go around corners. It doesn't like changes in diameter. It doesn't. The simpler you can make it, the better it is. The higher velocity, better airflow you can get into the cylinder head. We've simplified that for model year 24. In addition to that, go from a 55 millimeter throttle body to a 58 millimeter throttle body. So not only is it better, smoother, you got a bigger opening, more air into the heads. So then talking about the heads, the combustion chamber has been reshaped, redesigned, got new oval intake ports, again, kind of squishes. The whole purpose here is between that flow coming in, you're getting it more turbulent, higher velocity, better combustion. So when you get all that, that gives you better power, better torque. So we did a lot on the inside intake side of this motor to improve performance. I'll say, even though it's a 117, right? You're thinking, well, there's not a lot to talk about. We had a 117 out there. There is a ton to talk about, even on the powertrain side of this, with it being a 117. All right, and then last but not least, cooling. So you can get performance for a short amount of time, but if the engine runs too hot, you start taking away performance. Right now, with this, something you only used to get on the bikes with lowers, this has got liquid cooled heads on both Road Glide and Street Glide. Don't need lowers in order to get it. Got liquid cooled heads, so you're able to maintain that performance longer in more conditions. So powertrain has a ton to talk about. It's going to be an easy one to overlook potentially, but there's a lot of upgrades here that happen on the powertrain for model year 24. Some of the stuff that didn't change, right? Just a reminder, right? This is some of the base level architecture from Milwaukee 8 that carries over. So it's not all new, but there is a notable number of improvements here that we're delivering for model year 24. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric, and he's going to talk through some of the new stuff on the chassis side of things.
a reminder, guys, you will get a copy of this presentation. So if you're taking notes, just know that everything that's on the screen, you're going to get a copy of it.
Good morning. So, Scott talked about engine performance. I'm going to talk about some other areas of vehicle performance and comfort that we improved for the rider and the passenger. So one of the things that we wanted to focus on right away was weight. We know that if we can reduce weight, we can improve really every aspect of performance on the bike, from braking to acceleration to handling, basically for free. So when we looked at components like the fuel tank, we reduced the thickness of the steel used to make the fuel tank and gained some weight. We also looked at changing the manufacturing process on the upper triple clamps, the aluminum upper triple clamps, and those two things alone, we were able to take 7 pounds out of the weight of the bike. So the overall effect of looking at every component that we possibly could, we reduced the weight of the Street Glide by 18 pounds and the Road Glide by 16 pounds compared to the 2023 model specials. We also knew that we wanted to focus an improvement on the suspension. So to hit the targets that we had on the suspension for comfort and control, we increased the rear travel to 3 inches. That's a 50% improvement over the previous models that we had. We also retuned, the front suspension is the same conventional style forks, but they've been retuned for the best balance between the front and rear suspension that we could have on the bikes, so we could hit our targets for comfort and control. The front fairings, systems, and the windshields on both bikes have been redesigned. So we worked closely with Brad's team, not only to hit the look that they wanted, but we also wanted to hit the performance targets to improve the aerodynamics for the rider. So between software analyzation that we did on the components, the wind tunnel testing that we did we took those components to run on the vehicle, and also subjective riding that we did at the track, we were able to reduce the subjective helmet buffeting on the bikes from 60%, or we were able to reduce it 60% over the 2023 models. Other ergonomic changes that we made on the bikes to improve the comfort for the rider. On the Road Glide, we changed the shape of the handlebars to put the rider's hands in a more natural position. So that allowed them to be more comfortable riding the bike longer. We also changed the adjustability of the handlebar and added 27 degrees of rotation to hit different size arms, and also hit riders' preference for where they. Other changes we made were we changed the shape of the seat to improve the rider's posture so they could ride the bike longer. We've added an adjustable brake lever on the front to hit a wide range of riders' hand size, and also added 2 connections under the seat for heated gear. The media storage on the bikes has been improved. On the Road Glide, it still is on the right and left sides of the inner fairing. It's a push to open control, but we've increased the capacity that you can put inside there. On the Street Glide, we have underneath the infotainment screen a new innovative drawer that opens with a push of a button, and it has significantly more storage space than we've had in the past. Both bikes have USB-C connection in the storage. I'll bring Scott up to help me talk a little bit about infotainment.
All right, a couple slides on infotainment. So the Road Glide, Street Glide get, I'll say, the same system that was introduced in model year 23 for the CVOs. It is the Skyline OS system, and I'll say the heart of it is a 12.3-inch touchscreen TFT. So it is fantastic. I think most of you have probably seen it already, but kind of the star of the show in terms of the cockpit, in terms of upgrade of infotainment and the look of the vehicle. 400% more screen area, awesome. But then it also gets rid of your gauges, right? This functions as infotainment and gauges all at once. So connectivity, just not go deep on any of these, but it is fully connected. So Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Apple CarPlay, and also Android connectivity. So Apple CarPlay, it does do projection services. Android. It does streaming for radio. It also does calls as well. Probably some questions on Android Auto. Android Auto does not support two-wheel anymore. So that is not a decision made by Harley Davidson not to include that. That is something we're not able to get, unfortunately.
It's okay.
So. But it's you'll get a chance to try that out. It's fantastic. One of the things I also love about this is it gives you an opportunity based on the type of ride that you're going on, based on the mood that you're feeling, right? Really customize the screen to what you want to do for the day, what you want to look at. I'll say the more traditional setup is the Krause, right? You've got a speedo on the left, you've got a tachometer on the right, you've got some infotainment in the middle. Sport, right? It puts the tachometer front and center. So in other words, you can be keeping track of your RPMs. You want, speed kind of gets so, de-emphasized. Tachometer is the thing that is in the middle of the screen. And then similarly for tour, right? You're going out, you want map front and center. It takes everything, scrunches it to the left side of the screen, and the map becomes the focal point for your ride. So really 3 different, very functional modes based on what you're doing for the day. And then one last one for me here, audio. The power for the system, so the 5¼ inch speakers are the same that we've used for the base models previously. However, a big improvement in the fact that we're going from a 100 watt system to a 200 watt system. So you're going to get more power, more volume out of the speakers at speed. All right, Eric, you want to cover ride mode?
Yes. So for 2024's Street Glide, Road Glide, they now come standard with ride modes. So we offer the road mode, sport mode, rain mode, and one customizable mode, so a rider can change their settings based on the type of riding they're doing their day or their own personal preferences. In the past, rider safety enhancements for the North American markets have been optional. So for the 2024 Street Glide and Road Glide, they are now standard, so they're now standard for all markets. So things like TPMS, the traction control and vehicle hold control, those are all now standard. So to control all the features that we've been talking about, the hand controls have been redesigned. So we've moved functions like for the infotainment to the right side, and more audio controls and ride mode selection on the right side. We've also changed the ergonomics for more commonly used functions to make them easier to use for the rider. So you'll be able to check out these features on the bikes on the street ride tomorrow when we ride the Street Glide and the Road Glide. But for the bike that we're going to ride today, the CVO Road Glide ST, bring Brad back.
Okay, let's talk about the CVO Road Glide ST. We're all familiar with CVO. Most of us are familiar with CVO, Custom Vehicle Operations. It's the 25th anniversary of CVO this year. So the first thing I'll just note is that all of the CVO products in the lineup this year do have a 25th anniversary decal on the nose of the bikes, which is pretty cool. CVO, just as originally designed, or as originally the formula, as it was created, was really created in the era of profiling. So big paint, big wheels, big audio. That was kind of like the formula that we had. And it worked for a long, long time. But as you all know, sitting in this room, profiling is now starting to give way to performance. And performance is kind of being matched up with profiling. So it was this perfect combination, perfect moment for us to actually have our first performance-orientated CVO product, like pure performance-orientated CVO product. And we can honestly say, in terms of the Harley Davidson's history, we've never made a touring motorcycle that has this much performance packed into it, visually or technically. Obviously, the King of the Baggers racing series and the factory team played a huge part in the design of the Road Glide CVO ST. A lot of not only the visual cues of the motorcycle, but a lot of the technical cues and even some of the just the dynamics of the motorcycle were taken directly from the racing bikes, and the guys will take you guys through that as well. A couple little just graphic notes here on this slide. We definitely tried to have that little hint of the racing livery on the street-going model coming right off the racing bike itself. So the Screaming Eagle logo and the dropped H Harley Davidson logo, which, by the way, that dropped H Harley Davidson logo has been in our lineup since the teens, and it was the original racing logo. So that's why it's on all the ST products. Just a little side note there. And also Fast Johnny. So our Fast Johnny, who is our little potbelly pig mascot, again from the teens, he's on the left flank of the motorcycle on the side panel. He's been on every racing bike that we've done since we started racing King of the Baggers. You'll also notice that Kyle this year has put that logo on his helmet, which is pretty cool too. So yeah, we talked about all kinds of cool. We talked about the design of the new touring motorcycles. The ST uses all of that same great componentry, but it adds a few things. There's some forged carbon bits. There's a seat cowl. There is a console and a front fender that are all done in forged carbon. That is not paint. It's not faked. It's real carbon fiber. Forged carbon fiber. We like it for a couple reasons. So it's a little bit better product, a little bit more stable than traditional carbon fiber, but it also looks fresher. You know, it looks very dynamic. So we added those bits to the bike. There are actually performance bits all over this motorcycle. I should also mention that the exhaust tips on the exhaust system are also that same forged carbon fiber, the titanium Screaming Eagle exhaust. So the bike, again, we talked about the design of trying to like visually lift everything up off the ground. That really helps with not only just making the bike look lighter, but it also looks more performance orientated. These bikes also, we kind of went a step further. If you look at the floorboards on the ST, the collection is the switchback collection. It's the mini floorboard specific to this motorcycle. Wheels as well are specific to the ST, and the seat. And there's a bunch of other little bits on there too that we'll get into if we get a little more time. But two color combinations. We have the gold and white pearl, which is sitting back there. This is white onyx. If you were to take these two bikes outside, they are different. The flop on the ST is gold, so as the sun hits it, you're going to see a gold metallic highlight. This bike is a blue metallic highlight. So we talk about temperature with color, paint color. This is a cool flop, that's a warm flop. It's very dynamic outside on the track. Do take some time today to see it in the sunlight because it never looks right in these types of lights, so it really pops outside. And then of course we have Raven Metallic, which is our CVO metallic, beautiful metallic black that has a bunch of color in it as well, if you look at it. Thank you. And I mentioned the 25th anniversary logo and the branding of the rails on the motorcycle, including the wheels, which we like to do with CVO. So those are some of the Easter eggs that you'll find on the bike. If you guys have any other questions about the design of the motorcycle, again, I'll be at the track with Scott and Eric and the rest of the team. So thank you.
That's great. One bit of housekeeping. Eric talked his last slide was on hand controls. Remind me when we get a chance. There's a couple of, I'll say, hacks for hand control. So you've had people say, hey, smaller hands, I have trouble reach, or there's a couple of things on these hand controls particularly that I can show you that were designed for people with smaller hands to be able to still actuate the controls in a great way, right? So let's get around the bikes at some point. Let me show you a couple of hacks. Some of them are pretty cool. All right. The HO, high output 121. So ST, all about performance, and this motor delivers it. This is our highest performing factory motor ever delivered by the company. It is a 121, similar to what we launched on the CVOs in 23. However, based on some of the changes I'll talk through, it delivers 12 more horsepower and 6 foot-pounds more of torque. And I'll get to how we did that and how we accomplished that. Still 4 5/8 on the stroke, 11.4 on the compression ratio. What it achieves, 145 foot-pounds, 127 horsepower. And it's got to bring a smile. You guys are gonna ride it today. It is just fun to ride. All right, so it starts similar to the other. It starts on the intake side of things with a all-new, very race-inspired intake. This has been tuned specifically for high-end horsepower, so you get the tune stack that goes right into the throttle body. And I will also say, also listen for it, the difference between these bikes when we're on the road on Wednesday, following day, and then when you're riding the ST on the track today, this sounds phenomenal. This intake like it goes with the exhaust, it goes with the experience of the overall vehicle. So tuned for both performance and great sound quality. And then tuned for maximum power. This is maybe the one that we'll get some questions around when you say, hey, this is a high output, this isn't the 121 VVT, right? VVT's not on this motorcycle. Why did you do that? From an engineering standpoint, I look at VVT, I love it. It gives me lots of levers from an engineering standpoint of delivering torque, horsepower, emissions, fuel economy. It gives me that ability to tweak and tune. And that's what you get on the CVO motorcycles, right? It's able to elevate and flatten out the torque curve, give really low end torque, give really good still high end horsepower, really deliver on fuel economy. However, this motorcycle was all about all in on performance. If I want to tune for a point, right, I can do that with a cam, and I'm going to tune that cam for high horsepower at a particular point, high revving. So this bike goes all in with that and tunes for high end horsepower. And that's what we were able to deliver. That's what helped us deliver and pull out that extra 12 horsepower and that extra 6 foot-pounds of torque. What do you give up for that? You give a little bit of low-end torque on, right? So in other words, it's still got higher peak torque, but when you look at the area of the curve, you look at that torque curve, right? You're giving a little bit of low-end torque out, and then you're also giving up a little bit on fuel economy. But right, this was about delivering a high-performance motorcycle, and that was achieved through that tune that we did with this cam. In addition to that, I shouldn't, one last thing on here. So in addition, right, this is get a higher redline RPM on the ST, 5,600 on the other vehicles, 5,900 on this vehicle. Then you go to the driveline, going through the engine. This has got shorter gearing on it. So we went from a transmission output sprocket that's got 32 teeth to a transmission output sprocket that's got 30 teeth. So a little bit shorter geared means you're going to get faster acceleration in every gear. Right? Again, specific to the purpose of this motorcycle. And then to top things off, the exhaust, Brad mentioned it. So Screaming Eagle exhaust, these are titanium muffler shells, as well as forged carbon fiber end caps, high flow exhaust system, pairs well with the intake, motor, and the exhaust, fully tuned to get everything we could get out of this motorcycle from a performance standpoint. All right. Eric.
Okay, so that was the engine performance. Now we can talk about the other performance changes that we made for the Road Glide ST. So again, focus on weight. We set some really aggressive weight reduction targets for the Road Glide ST, and we actually hit them. So things like the forged carbon fiber Brad talked about, a win-win for us. They're lighter, and they also were the styling features that they wanted. Titanium exhaust, we used is much lighter. We also used engineered composite on the oil pan. Then when we were looking at designing components, we looked to optimize the weight wherever we possibly could. So the rider floorboards that we did, the wheels were optimized for weight, as well as the wave rotor that we have on the front of the bike. So the overall impact to the vehicle weight was a 25-pound weight reduction to the model year 24 CVO Road Glide. But that's, if you look at the model year 22 CVO Road Glide, it's a 60-pound weight reduction from that weight. So very significant. Other changes we made on following the performance theme. There's a moto bar and riser that we put on the bike that puts the rider in a more upright position and is very much on trend with the performance theme. There's the flat out bar for tip over protection that you're seeing on a lot more performance bikes. The wind splitter windscreen has a much more aggressive look. And then the solo seat that Brad mentioned is not only comfortable, but also puts the rider in a secure position for aggressive riding that they're gonna do. The front suspension has the same similar inverted style forks that are on the other CVO models, but they've been retuned, focusing more on control than on comfort. They're also fully adjustable, so we have adjustable preload, adjustable compression and rebound damping, so the customer can really change their settings depending on the riding that they're doing, either on the street or on the track. The tubes also have a diamond-like carbon coating. It's black in appearance, and it's on there for improved durability and reduced friction. And the reduced friction really helps with comfort and improved handling. The rear suspension is all new on the Road Glide ST. It's been retuned for the best balance to the front suspension, and it also has remote reservoirs that separate the oil and the gas, so it really improves the performance under demanding conditions, demanding riding on the bike. They also are fully adjustable for preload, compression, and rebound damping. Now, the engineer that did the tuning on the suspension for the bike will be out at the track today, so he'll be setting up the bikes, and he can also make changes on the bikes if you want to experience what some of those changes do on the track. The front brakes on the bike are the Brembo radial mount monoblock 4-piston calipers, the same as we've had on the other CVO models. But we've added a wave-style rotor that you're seeing on many more performance bikes. The Road Glide ST has the same ride modes as the other 24 CVOs. However, we've added a track mode and a track plus mode. So these track modes have the exact same throttle mapping that Kyle Lyman from the race team uses on his race bike. We've also changed other parameters in the calibration for the link braking, cornering ABS, and cornering traction control, really to put the control in the rider's hands on the track. It wouldn't be a CVO without doing some type of an upgrade to the audio. So the Road Glide ST has the Stage 2 Rockford Fosgate speakers in the front, and also the 500-watt amplifier, four-channel amplifier. I'll turn it over to Paul. We can talk about some accessories.
Ready to wrap this up? We'll just talk a little about parts and accessories, then we'll have some time for Q&A, and then we'll get out to the track. So, yes. Robert, you're killing me.
I love it, Paul.
So you noticed when you came in at breakfast, or maybe you didn't, there were some customized motorcycles out here in the hallway. So those were customized with some new parts and accessories from Harley Davidson that take us in some different directions and enable you to take the Road Glide and the Street Glide into different personal variations. Sorry, you want to back it up for the nav? Let's talk nav too. So on the CVOs, navigation is standard, but on the Road Glide and the Street Glide, you need to purchase the navigation to activate it and have it. So it's basically a $350 option to activate your navigation. Once it's activated for the life of the vehicle, and it gives you 3 years of map updates and live weather and live traffic. We won't have pricing yet for what that ongoing subscription looks like if you want to have updated maps, but if you choose not to update after that, you'll still have the navigation. It will work, it just won't be updated with maps along the way. Go to the next slide. So you see the little style, performance, and touring, and we have bikes that reflect this out there, but there's a number of different components that we packaged up and to give people basically a quick shot at like where do I see myself going? How do I want to package this? So you can see the style for $2,500 is a low profile seat, and you've got this extreme wedge air cleaner and the Pro Tuner, and then the Adversary collection. Performance leaning into that kind of performance bagger with heavy air breather, this Pro Street Tuner, the step-up performance seat, and then the performance collection. And then touring, of course, adding a tour pack that's detachable, docking hardware, the sundowner seat. So you can just see variations of how we believe customers are going to take their Street Glides and their Road Glides when they decide to customize them for themselves. And with that, I think it brings us to Q&A. Jen, how are we doing on time?
We're good.
We're good? Okay, so speakers are all here. What questions do you guys have? We'll also talk about how the day is going to work.
I've had several people ask about illuminated controls. Is that in the P&A or coming?
Can't talk about future product.
Okay.
I don't know if we offer that as a P&A option.
I'll get an answer for you.
Yeah. Okay.
If you purchase a brand new CVO with the navigation, is that for the lifetime of the bike, or does that end after a couple of years?
So for CVO, typically what we've done, it always has nav, and I think you get a certain number of updates with CVO. I'll double check on how many you get. At a certain point, you'd have to pay to get, I think, your updated nav. And that is at least traditionally that's what we've done our nav system. So let me find out on that.
Okay.
But yeah, you'll always have the nav on those motorcycles. And the same thing is if you buy the activation, you'll always have nav on that motorcycle for the life of the vehicle.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you mentioned that you changed the bars on the So these are the same bars that are on the 23 CVO, correct? For road glide.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Knocked it out of the park. It's the first time I've ever ridden stock Harley, and the bars were just, why no change to the street glide, which needed it, in my opinion, more.
The trucking ball probably height of hand. Yeah, that's a.
They're too low.
It's a personal preference.
It's a personal preference.
There's a lot of people who don't like their arms above their shoulders, right?
Right.
I know you're a tall guy, and I get why you want that. I personally love the bars here. That's just my preference. I don't like my hands to be this high for control, like for my feeling of control, but it's totally a preference thing. And you saw we did have a bar out there, I think, that showed what that looks like for a customer.
And the one of the differences too here from an engineering standpoint, this we're able to right on this one, better ergo bar, but also the setup on Road Glide allows us to move the bar. Right, 27 degrees we now allow. Right, so you can go from low to high. Hand controls adjust just a couple of bolt changes. The architecture on the Street Glide doesn't allow for that same level of flexibility like within the design itself. So you really got to go for something that is more middle of the road, mainstream in terms of ergonomics. And this has pretty much been tried and true in terms of good coverage and a comfortable ergo spot for most riders.
And we got to remember, you're talking about a wide range of body shape, styles, and preferences. Matt and I and Travis were riding bikes earlier to scout the route. And one bar setup that Travis was complaining, he felt like he was being pulled forward because his arms were elbows locked. It was perfect for Matt. Matt's like, oh, I love it like that. That's exactly what. Well, they switched bikes and we moved handlebars. That's just a different personal preference and body size.
So I have a couple questions for you regarding if you wanted to upgrade. For instance, if you have a standard. If you want to upgrade the 131 or 135 crate motor, I seen on the line it's not going to be compatible, or is it? Because the crate motor doesn't come with the liquid cooled heads, am I correct? So is that going to be compatible for like a direct replacement of the 117?
Yeah, let me get some details on that for you because my answer is yes, but let me make sure. I'll get you stage kit details as well as crate motor details. I'll follow up with you on that.
All right, great.
Tall about.
Well, I have two questions, and he answered. He asked one, and I want to ask two. So with the new models that you have coming out right here, you have the sport style and the touring. Now, will that be available at the dealership, or is it something that does the dealer have to order it that way, or is it something that the consumer just get the package later?
That's a packaging of components. All the different components are available individually. We're just trying to make it easy for a customer to say, oh, so I want to go touring. This is what I want, and it's just an easy package to order. One part number can order it all, one price.
Right.
So, but you can also order those parts individually. And of course, any dealer, as far as that goes, some dealers are going to stock those parts, and some you'll have to order it. It depends on the dealer.
So it's not going to replace like the special and those that
No, it does. Well, these are ads at the dealer though too. I think what I was hearing in your question is, can I get it from the factory with that? No, so it comes from the factory in the I'll say the stock condition, and if you want to accessorize it with one of those packages to kind of go into one of those areas, that would be something you order through your dealer.
Okay, and then another question. Well, since it's not BBT, but it still has on the cam chest there, the little extra thing there. Is there a reason, or you, well, not maybe not. Will this be BBT probably? Okay. Well, then the next one I will ask you, then I'll be done with it. So, as John was saying, I know that the 117 of 2022, you could, I always look at aftermarket, I don't have aftermarket guy, could change it out. They actually make tuners and stuff for it, with 135s and 132s and everything else. But I've noticed on the new ones, the new 2024 models, that there's no tuner that can be changed out for these models. Did you change the ECU this year again too, as you did?
The ECM is common with the 2023, right? So it's the new architecture that came with CVOs in 23 proliferates through to these motors.
So even though it's 117, it didn't take the same ECM from
correct. Yeah, gotcha. Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, is the water cooling in the 117 the same system as the CVO 121 from last June release? Okay, and it talked about heat reduction. Do you have any numbers on how much heat reduction or anything?
Not offhand, and I don't know that we publish the data on it either. But
People are just curious. I asked what questions they wanted to know.
Sure. Yeah,
Like,
it's physically very noticeable.
Visibly noticeable, but also it's different for different people in terms of their how they're riding the bike and where their legs are in the bike and things like that. But it's noticeable.
It is.
Like
It's certain. And one of the things I did mention that I probably should have too is like the system is common with the CVO, but different than our previous cooling system as well. So this has been redesigned. So the passages within the cylinder heads have been redesigned for better cooling, and then the circuit has been redesigned for better cooling. So this now takes I'll say the coolest coolant and starts cooling with the rear head and then proceeds forward to the front head. So in other words, the hottest portion, the hottest head on the motorcycle is the rear head. We direct the lowest temperature coolant right to that head. It starts cooling there first and then moves forward, right? So really pinpointing where we need to take the most heat out, and that is something the rider definitely feels.
I would recommend for those people that are asking that question, have them demo a bike, right? Demo a motorcycle.
At least I can tell them it's noticeable, even if you don't have a specific statistic.
It's very noticeable.
Yeah.
I had someone who bought one, and they've already messaged me, and they were told by the dealer that you can't put a tuner on it. And I think that's kind of what you were asking about in aftermarket. Yeah. So no,
put our tuner on it.
Yes.
So you can't put your tuner on it, but no other tuners. Is where we stand
That's
right
true
now.
with a lot
It's
of
gonna
things right
take
now,
them,
right? It's a new product, so there's a lot of things the aftermarket hasn't caught up on yet.
Okay.
Not a question, more of a statement. I just think it's awesome that now the company is offering this type of model when it comes to performance and design. It's awesome. It's pretty much, there's a lot of consumers out there who just at times don't have the eye to kind of put everything together. And the fact that now you're offering that from factory is like, it cuts a lot of time for people who want to kind of build a performance bike,
right?
In a way, getting it like that.
That's the same philosophy behind the packages as well. Whether you want long haul touring, or you want more of a profiling look, or performance like ST kind of package, you can do that now with this package. Same.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on what you said, but expand on it to include all of the models. You guys just did a phenomenal job. Sometimes we think about making a certain change in our YouTube channel. We might stress out about that. That's nothing compared to having to come out with all new designs and to meet all people's different expectations. So just kudos to all of you guys.
Thank you.
And I like it, ST. Okay, I think somebody mentioned something about the front brake has an adjustment now.
Yeah, that's the lever adjustable.
Why not do that on the clutch? If that's where people need it, I think more.
Yeah, it's the clutch is a trickier one. So we've got it's set. We've got the clutch in as close as it could be to the handlebar. So the adjustment would be only out from there, and we don't think that's a value add.
I'm talking when you say in. Talking about
Yeah, so
engagement?
right, what you're likely asking for is, man, I'd like that lever to be here, right? Well, okay, yeah, I'm exaggerating, but right, I'd like it to be further in,
Wouldn't
right?
disengage.
Yeah, it would disengage, right? So we've got the clutch lever set as close as it can be and still get the full throw of the clutch, right? And so if you made this adjustable, we can make it adjustable, but the lever's going to go out from there, and that was, that wasn't something that we felt was really a value add. Whereas on the brake side, you can bring it in closer, right? Or further away, depending on hand size, and there's value there in terms of that adjustment.
As long as you're right there, you want to just quickly talk about the hand controls and the little hacks?
Yeah. Okay, so on both sides, you get this one to get turn signal, right? It's your standard push for turn. Horn is on the inside, mode is on the inside here, push for turn. So this has got the ergo, right? It's got this, I'll say, wing that pops out here. For smaller hands, if you don't want to reach in, all you got to do is back flip it, right? So if you take your thumb on the back side of that, right? One of the reasons that we extended it out was smaller hands, and if you just want to nudge it rather than reach over to get it, you can just nudge it, right? So that'll be your horn, and then same thing here. If you just want to nudge it,
that's smart.
And that will be your reasons for changing modes. So again, smaller hands, smaller fingers. The other one here is with this center button on the pad, right? Bigger hands, bigger guys, you can reach all the way over to this far button here. Otherwise, if you got smaller hands, all you got to do is push, right? So that center button, we raised that center button purposely such that you don't need to reach over here if you've got a smaller hand. If you want to push right here, you don't need to go all the way right. All you need to do is push on the center button. So
You really
in any of the directions, right?
yeah, same thing, right? Yes, I want yeah, good point, Paul. Right, so up, down, left, right. If you'd rather not reach out to the entire pad, you can basically use the center button as a joystick.
So that's the same thing on the other side for the volume?
Yeah, same thing on the other
my
side for the
God.
volume.
You guys
here.
that should be in like bold type something
So-
because that's huge. It's a great.
Yeah.
Can you explain that one more time? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
So for the center button here,
That's huge.
if you don't want to use, if you've got large hands and you want to use the entire joystick of the entire pad, you can, right? Reach over, up, down. But if you have smaller hands or just prefer it, you can use the center button as a joystick. So in other words, if you want to go track forward here or track back, you just push it, and there's
Just
track
changed my
back.
life. You know how many times I've been riding this motorcycle and wow.
And for you Harley riders, I know a lot of you are, take some time, just get familiar with the controls. They are very different. And your muscle memory will not get you there, right? You'll find yourself hitting the wrong button if you're just kind of using muscle memory. So just kind of be intentional a little bit as you're starting to ride these things.
As long as you're still sitting over there, I'm sorry, the volume button.
Yep.
Why can't I just hold it and have it go up? Like I have to do it like that.
Oh, multiple
Yes.
I think you can hold it.
Not on my CVO.
Let me
I have to press it like this.
Let me look at that. That's probably a preference that we could probably look into adjusting if it's not.
Because you know, sometimes you start your bike, your music was still loud, and you're like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
you hold it, and it just nothing's happening. You got to go like this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll take that one back.
Tall.
First of all, the bike does look awesome. Again, I'm a fan of the short bags. I think I guess you guys designed it, branded it. This looks fantastic. It looks really fast, and just how I would want a bike to look. You know, it's very performant. But for the people that want the extended bags, which I think they're kind of out now, will you be making extended bags for some of them?
Not at this time.
No.
Yeah. It's also worth noting, I don't think we mentioned this, but the bags, although they do look visually much shorter, there's actually more volume in the bag than the stretch bag. So you can actually stuff more gear into these than the stretch bags.
I gotta watch how I word this because Paul's like a politician. The battery tender, are we still dealing with this pigtail thing sticking out? Or do we have something nice and easy for a old man like myself? Doesn't want to have to bend down to get my bike on the tender.
Same pigtail.
Consumers want to know, like aftermarket accessories for compatibility to older models. And I know, like the engine, the intake, that's new design. That's going to be specific to this engine. But like seats, is there any changes where it's not going to be backwards compatible for seats or derby covers, things like that?
So the seats, no, because we made some pretty dramatic changes to the seat profile in the pan. Taller riders tended to have on the outgoing model, it just wasn't quite as comfortable. There's a kind of a pelvic roll that you do when you hit a bump, you slide forward. Anybody knows what I'm talking about, it's my size. We eliminated that by changing that pan, which meant that unfortunately the P&A collection that exists for Rushmore models isn't retro.
Yeah, the interface with the tank is also different, right? How that front nose of the seat interfaces with the tank is different. Underseat packaging, the Brad mentioned.
So probably the right answer is a lot of things are not going to be compatible. Maybe a few things will.
Yeah.
I feel like derby covers. I mean, is that changed?
No, that's the same. That
Right.
Yep.
So there'll be some compatibility, but it's just going to vary on the part.
Correct.
Yeah.
Do you still call it an M8? I mean, I know, like.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still.
It's Milwaukee 8.
Yeah, it's Milwaukee 8. M8's a street term, but yeah, Milwaukee 8.
Do y'all still have, I mean, is there like a nickname that you have for the new VVT M8 or anything? Because,
it's Milwaukee 8 VVT.
You guys can think one up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
the one committee.
Something comes flat with these bikes more than I.
Yeah, so it's an issue. She asked about seat height. it is, I'll say, it's equivalent to what it was before, but some may feel it's better because of the way we've sculpted the seat, right? So in other words, the seat and what we've taken here, right? So depending if you got short inseam, you're going to be able to get to reach to ground is better. So when you look at published like laden height of the motorcycle, it'll be the same. But if you get on the motorcycle, again, that's why I encourage everybody, like before they say, well, it's too tall or it's not too tall, get on the motorcycle, right? See how it actually fits you. And then the OE seat is sculpted better, such that your reach to ground is made shorter.
So I would say, again, encouraging your viewers to demo these motorcycles, to really understand and try them themselves, because there's so much new and so much different. You really have to experience it to understand.
Also the weight that Eric and his team
Yes.
took out.
Yes.
That means they come off the kickstand a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can't emphasize that enough. I forgot to say it about VVT too. So VVT, in addition to giving them performance, right, weight is a big deal on this motorcycle. We thought painstakingly about every ounce of weight and whether there was value add for it for that customer. VVT takes another 2 pounds out of the motorcycle, right? So in other words, get the performance and get the weight out, the amount of weight that was taken out of that motorcycle in particular it's amazing from an engineering standpoint, right? We talk about shaving off ounces wherever possible, and the trade-offs that come with that, and that motorcycle has pounds and pounds and pounds taken out of it. So really, really great engineering.
It's also where you take the weight out.
Yes.
Yeah, like fuel tank, that's weight that's high, so you eliminate that weight.
Over 2 pounds on the fuel tank.
2 pounds up there is a big deal. It feels like 4 times.
Yeah.
So being,
you want to go?
Jim, go ahead. Jim.
The 3-inch travel, is that on both models?
Yes.
Yes.
Same thing? Okay. No, 3-inch travel.
Rear travel.
Oh, yes.
Suspension. And how about we're at the front for these models right here, when it comes to suspension? What do we go with compared to the outdoor model?
The travel is the same.
Yeah,
But front is the same?
But I'll say it has been retuned. Yeah, this is another one of those. You're gonna look at it and you're like, it's the same. It's not the same. It's been retuned. It is a better tune than the previous, the outgoing, and has been retuned in order to balance better with the improvements that were made in the rear. So overall, the suspension on these motorcycles, a notable step forward from where we were in 2020.
Yeah, and then I'm sorry, while we're out that, why is it that the CVOs have the inverted front end, but we decided to go with this? Was it a cost-effective type of thing, or something else?
I think we protected it for CVO, and obviously it had to be done for that motorcycle.
Yeah.
It's a trackable rated motorcycle, but from a visual, you want to talk about it, Brandon?
Yeah, I would say too. I mean, you hit it on the head. We want to make a more affordable motorcycle, a bike that people can afford, and we also want to make sure that we maintain the Apex model sort of family CVO with all the best bits. Yeah. So
Jen's giving me the high sign back there that we got to wrap things up because we got to ride some motorcycles.
Yeah, you guys want to ride?
So Jen's going to talk about the schedule and how it's going to work, and we're going to be here all day to help answer your questions. And I know you'll have more as you ride the motorcycle.